Conchetta Bria, that ballroom is right behind me. This is where people were sent screaming, pouring into the streets, running for their lives when that 72-year-old gunman decided to shoot and kill 10 people, wounding 10 others. And it didn't stop here. In a town called Alhambra, not too far from here, he decided to have another shooting. Back out here live, I do urge you to try to understand, if you can, and put yourself in the shoes of the victims and their families. 10 people were shot and killed. Another 10 were wounded. That's 20 people impacted. That does not include their families who are now planning memorial services this week, or these other 10 people who were wounded now fighting for their lives this morning. So again, I do hope that you think about this community this morning as they continue to heal. Well, good morning. Distracted driving is absolutely one of the largest causes of accidents on the roadway. That's according to AAA. And many people are guilty of driving while doing something else, but the consequences of not paying attention can be deadly. And get this, AAA says that just 5 seconds of looking down to read an email is like driving blindfolded down an entire length of a football field. So next time that you get in the car, make sure that you are focused on the road. No text or email is worth a life. Well, Bria, a truck driver was going westbound on I-80 when his truck caught fire. You can see he was carrying tons of pounds of chocolate. If you've never seen raw chocolate before in your life, this is it, but it's caught on fire. You can still smell it when you come up I-80. It smells like hot chocolate, literally. And come around this way, you can see it's still smoking here. This right here is where that smell is coming from, because the fire is still burning from within and the flames are now put out. But we talked to fire crews. They tell us this was an easy fire to put out because the chocolate was not combustible. The driver, he is safe this morning, but he's just a little startled. You can see they're starting to do the cleanup here, trying to get this truck out of the way. When it comes to navigating through this, drivers are able to get through westbound I-80. Both lanes have reopened at this time, but fire crews tell me they've been here since 4 a.m. trying to wrap their arms around this mess. It's sticky, it's warm, and it smells like chocolate. But luckily, everybody is safe this morning. But again, a whole truck carrying tons of chocolate caught on fire this morning, causing a huge backup on I-80.
Monica, quickly, is that a downward slope where the truck caught fire? Because a lot of times they're going at a regular rate of speed, whatever, and the brakes generally trigger something if it's headed down.
Well, great question, because I was speaking with the tow truck driver, and he tells me he sees this all the time with this downward slope because the drivers are pressing on their brakes, trying their best to slow and control that truck. But unfortunately, accidents like this happen.
Okay.
Well, it's quiet now, but that was not the case around 2 a.m. when somebody inside the house right behind me called law enforcement asking for help after shots were fired. We now know that a 17-year-old is now dead due to those gunshots. Take a look behind me. You can see it's still a very active scene here. We watched as several detectives walked behind that line as they are working this case as a homicide. Conchetta, just to bring you some context, this is the neighborhood that's right across from Floyd Elementary School. You can see it's still a very active scene. There's a fire hose that's leading up to where this fire is taking place. You can see we are being asked to step back here. Just look up here, Conchetta. You can see the firefighters are up inside. There's still some fire burning on that top story there, and firefighters are working to put those flames out. The water hose is now spraying. That's why they had us move back a little bit so that we wouldn't get hit by that water, but also not impede with their efforts to try to get these flames out. But you can see there's multiple people who live in these complexes. We saw people waiting outside in these freezing temperatures trying to figure out their next steps. And as you can see right now, that water being doused across this apartment complex, trying to put out those remaining flames. Smoke is almost everywhere here. It's hard to see or breathe. And also, you may not be able to see due to that smoke in the water, but there's multiple windows here that are all blown out due to the flames, and also just firefighters trying to get inside and get their arms around this fire. And when it comes to this location, there's multiple complexes within one, so it's a multi-family home here, and we're trying to step back so that firefighters can do what they need to do and get the work done. But there's multiple ambulances here as well. We heard one woman really just in fear for her pets. She did evacuate, but she wasn't able to get all of her animals with her. It does look like fire crews were able to get those flames out at the top story there, but smoke continues to fill the air in that top story and on the bottom floor. Also, it looks like there's a kitchen area that also caught a flame. That's going to be on that first floor there, where that open door is, if you can see that from our vantage point, Conchetta and Bria. But again, this neighborhood just woken up this morning with devastation. This fire completely taken out this apartment complex right across from Floyd Elementary School on this Monday, heading back to work, back to school. We're going to talk to fire officials here. They're giving me that look, so we're going to go ahead and get some more information from them. For now, sending it back to you. Good morning. In my hands is the criminal complaint filed by the Placer County District Attorney alleging that the former MLB star Daniel Serafini, along with his friend Samantha Scott, killed Serafini's father-in-law about 2 years ago. The case went cold until now. I'm Monica Coleman on Broadway in Sacramento at Dandy Bar, where their business was broken into Sunday morning. You can see the aftermath behind me. The window is boarded up here with a sign that reads "Glass intact, armed guard security on site 24/7. Alarms and cameras are active 24/7. And speaking of alarms, you can see now you have to ring the doorbell to get inside, an extra layer of precaution. And walk with me this way. You can see there's another warning sign saying a security camera in use with a blue flashing light. But take a look inside. You can see all the lights are on, trying to discourage anybody from robbing this business again. The rain has now passed, but the aftermath of the storm remains. I'm here on Elkhorn Boulevard and Watt Avenue. You can see this parking lot behind me now looks like a lake. Take a look for yourself. You can see just how deep. At least 4 inches of water is flooded here in this parking lot. And if you walk with me this way, you can see just how deep this water is. My feet are in this puddle, but follow my gaze to that planter there where the tree is standing. You can see just how deep this water gets in this parking lot. And to my right, you can see these 2 cars are parked stranded in the middle of this parking lot flooding, and how high that water goes to the tire, showing you just how high this water gets. We do have some tips and tricks for you if you plan to be on the roadways today. Kings fans were on the edge of their seat last night watching the big game against the Warriors. Unfortunately, 1 point kept the Kings from lighting the beam last night. It all happened really quickly at the end of the game. Unfortunately, Kings forward Harrison Barnes could not put that 3 in the basket, making the Kings lose the game at the end of the night. But Kings fans say they are still rallying around the beam team and say Wednesday will be for the Kings. Here at Doco, the energy will be electric, but if you want a ticket, it's going to cost you $250 for the nosebleed, $600 for the bull seat. If you want the best seat in the house on the floor, $5,000. Yeah, Conchetta, you can see that smoke. You can smell that smoke. It is so heavy. You can see it throughout the treetops. Honestly, when you look behind me, you can't even see what's below me because that smoke is so thick. And come around with me this way, because the big story this morning is the large amount of police presence here. Take a look at the grocery store. You can see the Placer County Sheriff. Good morning. Across the town of Uvalde, there are several memorials honoring the 21 lives lost 2 weeks ago today. From when you first come into town, there's 21 white crosses to the massive display at the plaza. More questions than answers came out of the press conference today. The superintendent did address where Robb Elementary School students will attend school come fall, but failed to answer any questions regarding the district's response the day of the mass shooting. Yeah, Walt, the electrifier continues to burn this morning. You can see and smell the smoke from the Italian picnic grounds. This is where people are being asked to evacuate. Deputies throughout the night were knocking on doors, telling people they needed to leave their homes. And here at the evacuation center is where I met Paul Keaton. He is the Red Cross shelter manager. And Paul, tell me about the resources you have here for those who are in need. Bria, good morning. So we are now learning that the police are identifying the 3 victims of that shooting as 2 adults and 1 young juvenile. They also say that the suspect has been detained. And this morning I was able to meet with a resident, a neighbor who's lived here for 30 years. Your name is Leon. Leon, yes. What happened this morning from your point of view? Yes, and the California National Guard has been here for at least 5 days. You can see their vehicles behind me, and come around this way. You can still see that 6-foot fence wrapped around the Capitol. And then to my right over here, the National Guardmen protecting every inch of Sacramento. That protest is happening right now. Over a dozen parents and students are here protesting, demanding that 5 days a week in-person learning starts immediately now. But dozens of parents and students, like you said, were here at the district building, and this is what they left behind. Their signs taped to the walls and the doors of the district building, pleading and demanding that they reopen schools 5 days a week for in-person learning.